The Joe Rogan Experience.
But they went to decision.
I wouldn't mind Tyson getting into his camp and just kind of mentoring him a bit. Like Mike Tyson, I feel like somebody like that would really help a guy like Dion. I mean, it's not like he needs a lot of help,
Right.
but like somebody like Mike Tyson being around, just having him to like call on and talk to sometimes.
Tyson doesn't really want to have anything to do with boxing anymore, though, it seems.
And maybe not even in the gym. Maybe just somebody to talk to once in a while.
Just
and
for
maybe
life?
some strategy. Maybe even about strategy sometimes, you know? Because I feel, I don't know, I forget exactly what it was, but there was a moment when I was watching Deontay Wilder, and then there was something, I think when Mike was in here, something he was talking about that I was just like, man, those two should get connected.
That's interesting.
I was a long time ago. When I was living in Texas. I got a phone call at like 2 a.m. and it was one of my buddies, my buddy Lynn Oding, and I was like, I don't want to answer that, man. I'm sleeping in bed with my wife. I'm sleeping. These calls, and then the next morning I listen to my voicemail, and he's like, Yves, if you get this, call me back. I'm in, like, he was in a club, and he's like, somebody wants to talk to you, and he has the phone. He's like, Yves Edwards. I was so pissed.
God.
I was like, man, I missed a phone call from Mike Tyson. Like, he ran into him in a club or something. I was like, Mike Tyson knows my name?
Dude, I met him at the UFC, and he's like, you're that weed guy.
No, he's that weed guy.
Well, he was into weed back then, but it was like, that's what he said. He goes, I like you, man. You're funny. I'm like, thank you. I'm so glad you like me. And then having him in here was so surreal because when I was a kid, he was the fucking man.
Yeah.
I mean, he was you would you'd pay to see his fights just to watch him fuck somebody up. It wasn't a fight. It was an execution. You would watch him execute guys. Yeah. He was the man.
He was the man.
He changed heavyweight boxing. People don't realize that heavyweight boxing in the early 80s was dead. Nobody cared because Larry Holmes, after he beat Muhammad Ali, everybody was sad. It was like a sad thing. Like there was a changing of the guard. Larry Holmes beat the shit out of Muhammad Ali, and Larry Holmes never got his due. He never got his due. He was so good, man.
Yeah.
Larry was so good. He had one of the best jabs of all time. He was so good. But people were still upset at him because he fucked up Muhammad Ali. He was the champ after the greatest. You know, and Muhammad Ali wasn't just the greatest in terms of like the greatest fighter. He was a cultural icon.
Yeah.
He meant something to people. It was something. I mean, everyone knew the guy was out for 3 years because he protested the Vietnam War. Everybody fucking hated the Vietnam War, especially people who went to Vietnam hated the Vietnam War. And they got it, man. And he meant a lot. He meant a lot. So when Larry Holmes came around, it's like, man, Larry just never got his due. Never got his due.
That era of boxing, I remember going back watching tape and doing that. And that's one thing I appreciate about Tyson. You know, like he was a student.
Yes. Thank God he knew Jim Jacobs, who had that crazy library that he could get all that. You know, Jim Jacobs was the guy who curated. Like he has every old time fight, all of them. He would watch Sugar Ray Robinson and Jack Dempsey,
and he's watching like Willie Pep, and he's not only watching like the heavyweights.
Yeah, he watched Harry Greb. He watched all those guys, all his old school, all and weird, obscure fighters. You know, guys that most people don't remember anymore.
Yeah, that era of boxing was very different.
Sandy Sadler and, you know, all those guys. He would watch all those guys. Yeah, that era of boxing before him was terrible. It's like you had champs like Pinklin Thomas and Tony Tubbs, and no one cared about the heavyweight division. And then he came along and just started blasting people. And you're like, finally.
I remember I was like 7 or 8 years old. I met Trevor Berbick. He was down in the Bahamas for a fight. And that's who Tyson took his belt from, right? Got his first belt from.
20 years old.
Yeah. That
crazy.
Like 20.
20.
Now you're the heavyweight champion of
the world. And then, well, that was the thing, talking to him about it, like, what was that like? And it's just, there's no way he can manage it. No one can manage that. You're going to go crazy.
I feel like his career and his life would have been very different if Cuss didn't die when he did.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
I think so, too. It's a tragic story, but it's also like there's so many lessons in that story. It's like for all of us, it's like there's a lot to learn. You know, what happened when it got all the way to Buster Douglas, when it was like he felt like he can't lose, and he was in this rare state. You know?
Yeah, like his life, like he's had so many ups and downs, and as the heavyweight champion, and like to be somebody that's the heavyweight champion of the world, somebody with so many eyes on them, you know, the Robin Givens, that whole saga in his life, you know. I remember I forget was it Oprah when they were being interviewed, and they were on the show, and he just kind of looked like. I feel like Mike Tyson in that interview was like those tigers that people walk with that they drug.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, perfect. Like, perfect way to describe it.
Man.
They probably medicated him.
Yeah. Because he did not look, he just didn't seem like the Mike Tyson who I was a fan of.
Right.
Like, I didn't dislike him in that moment. I was just like, what's wrong with him?
Meanwhile, who the fuck? I mean, it had to be her idea. If I was his friend, I would go, why are you going to talk to Barbara Streisand?
Yeah,
or
that's who
Barbara
it was.
Walters,
Barbara
whoever
Walters.
it was. Get the fuck out of here. Same thing. Barbara Streisand, Barbara Walters to me. Same. You're talking to some old lady. You're the fucking heavyweight champion of the world. Get out of here with that talk. Yeah. No. This is nonsense. And you're going to bring your wife? What? What are you doing? What benefit is there?
Yeah, it was well, I can't say definitely, but my assumption is it was Robin Givens.
She emasculated him. Yeah, she emasculated him in front of the world, and and I think afterwards he realized what happened. He was furious.
Yeah,
but it's like that life is unmanageable. The life that he lived back then was unmanageable. He was the fucking king of the world. He was in his 20s. He was buck wild, just going crazy, flatlining people everywhere he went. People would throw rose petals at his feet and screaming, cheering fans. It's unmanageable. He's too young.
Imagine being a poor, adopted black kid
with no love in your life until you're 13.
Until you're 13, and then you come into all of this money because you're the best fighter in the world. Like, what could he possibly be afraid of then, too?
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah, pet tigers, bro. He'd wrestle with them. I mean, that was the crazy thing of him talking about when he found out that he could get a tiger.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I could get a tiger? But he's so humble now. It's so interesting. And one of the more interesting things that he said is he doesn't train because he doesn't want to fire his ego up. You know, he's like, I don't like that part of me. I don't want that part of me to come out again. I don't want it.
Wasn't there video of him, like I understand he doesn't train anymore, but wasn't there video of him, I think last year, just before he came in here and spoke to you, where he was hitting the heavy bag?
I think it was a little bit longer ago than that, but yeah, he was doing it for something. He still can crack.
Man.
Yeah. Still scary.
Power is the last thing.
Well, do you ever see that scene? He's doing a movie, and there's a scene in a bar. They're doing something, and he just shows them a combination. He just punches in the air, no warm up, lightning fast, jab, hook, uppercut, right hand. It's like, yikes. It's all still there.
Man.
50 years old. Still fuck you up.
And that was like, he was the heavyweight champion of my childhood, you know?
Yes,
like,
mine too.
Muhammad Ali came before, But
again, Larry Holmes just doesn't get the credit. It's like, for whatever reason, it's just like, in the first round when Tyson fought Larry Holmes, it made me think, like, damn, what would it have been like if Larry was in his fucking prime? Because when they fought, Larry was like 36 or something like that, somewhere around there. It was already kind of over for him.
Yep.
And Mike was Mike. I mean, Mike was black shoes, no socks. There it is, right here. Why is she?
And then the weave.
Yeah. I mean, he just can't help. I mean, that was like built into his system, you know? Fuck.
That head movement was deadly.
He was such an interesting guy, too, because he was only like 5. He's probably like 5'10", 5'11", I think. He's like 5'10 and a half, something like that. But to be a heavyweight and just so low and bobbing and weaving and moving in, and everybody was like, Jesus!
Yeah.
Like you see him coming out, you're
like his head's right in your chest.
And then he's ripping your body, and then uppercut, that right hook to the body, and then uppercut behind it that he used on everybody. He used it on Frank Bruno. He used it on everybody. Boom! Whap! Right up the middle.
Who hits harder, him or Francis?
Francis.
Really?
Francis hits harder. Yeah, he hits harder. I think so. I think Mike Tyson was a way better boxer.
Yeah.
But I think if Mike Tyson can hit like Francis does, Francis just has to clip you. He just, like, look what he did to Junior. He just grazed him. Obviously, they're different gloves. Obviously, I just think Francis is such a way bigger man. Yeah. You know, Mike at his prime was like 209, 215, around then.
I remember on Punch Out. Like, I never beat him. Never beat him.